Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your human journey as a path both the emotional and spiritual worlds through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever. Hello, my strong, sensitive, spiritual seekers. Welcome back to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast. I'm Michelle Bursell, and I've got a topic that I am so passionate about. And this is all about enhancing your emotional frequency through understanding your feelings from an empowered and what I refer to as a divine feminine approach to our emotions. Because what is out there right now can be leading us astray to truly experiencing our emotions as the gift that they are, to support us, to help us with our lives and make our lives feel more at ease so that we feel more alive from within. And so there's some beliefs that I want to get into that I believe are coming from a masculine approach that is well-intended, and there can be half truths to them. So this is where we're going to get into some of the both and. But if you apply what I'm going to refer to as a masculine approach on its own, it can cause confusion. It can make us feel bad for how we feel. And especially for those who are emotionally sensitive, it can unintentionally make us feel stuck and shift away from who we are, how we are built, when that is such a source of strength. So I really want us to get into some of these beliefs and start to break them down together. All right, so belief number one, and I like this belief, but what we do with this belief is another thing, okay? So the belief is the quality of our emotions is the quality of our life. The quality of our emotions is the quality of our life. So there's something very powerful here, because there's more people recognizing that, our emotions matter. And so you're like, all right, Michelle, so that's good, right? Well, what the masculine frame has been based on this belief, the quality of emotions is the quality of our life. We have to work harder to control our emotional states. And so what I see is happening is that there's this sense of we need to be in control of our moods. And maybe you have felt this, like, I should never be in a bad mood. I always need to be trying to shift my emotional state so I'm always in a positive state. And so there is this sense of like, I need to move my body physically to get from a low energy state and mood to a more expansive one, okay? And there are feminine approaches to this as well. So you do yoga, dance, move your body, right? And so there is truth to this. However, and this is where we've got to hold the both and, is that if we just believe that, okay, I'm in a negative emotional state, I've got to move it, I've got to work out, I've got to move my body, I've got to move this energy out of me, And either it doesn't work, or you constantly have to be going back to that, trying to physically move this emotion out of your body. I'm sorry, but that emotion is trying to tell you something. And it's not that you can just control every mood, or that you should control every mood. We've got to start to look at our emotions like weather. There's certain weather patterns that come through, and we have tools, right? When there's bad weather, there's certain things that we know to do. And so if you feel like it's getting overcast, that's a great time to be moving your body more. I absolutely believe in the importance of moving our body and allowing some of the stuck energy to move, because with the hormones responding to our physical movement, this is where we are able to connect with more of our endorphins and start to see some of the aspects that have kept us overthinking or thinking in a negative light, to bring new perspective to it, right? Beautiful. Yes, we want this. But if you feel that that emotion does not move, or you have to keep trying to do more and more physically to move emotion, guess what? That emotion is there. It's there to help you and support you, and to say, moving your body is not going to cut it. And that's okay. So again, we can't control the weather, and we can prepare for it, and we can know what the weather is trying to indicate to us. And if you're trying to exercise or do yoga or go for a walk, and you have some negative feelings that keep coming forward and they get stronger and stronger, and you don't apply what we're going to get into, which is this feminine, empowered approach to our emotions, where they become our ally, you're going to find yourself getting physically sick. That's just what I have noticed in others. I don't want this for anyone, but we have this mind-body connection, and our emotions are a huge part of that. And so we want to be able to understand the times when it's a little cloudy. Hey, how can I move my body? How can I start to shift my mood? But if we go into this state of control, which is the piece to this belief that we want to dissect. Yes, so much of the quality of our life is the quality of our emotions, but so is our physical health, so is our relationships, there's our mental health, there's so many different aspects. So yay, we are finally starting to pay attention to emotion. But if in that paying attention, we go into, now I have to control over my moods, this is another form of the masculine trying to control our feelings. We've been doing this with everything from lobotomies to medications to institutionalizing people, trying to control emotions and our emotional expressions. Now this is obviously softer, softer by saying, okay, we've got to move our body, but the message is still the same. I've got to fix how I'm feeling, because the negativity within me is not okay. And that can make us feel bad about ourselves. Again, especially if you are emotionally sensitive. And so the whole point of the divine feminine and our negative feelings, first of all, is to signal to us, honey, you're away from your truth. You are being guided to know, here's the capital T truth of who you are. And those negative emotional states are trying to guide you to help you see how you're off course from your truth. And when you learn the empowered, loving, divine feminine language of your negative feelings, you're going to get guidance as to what exact energy you are being called to tap into, to recall and remember and embrace more of your truth. And so we get stuck in some ego patterns, and just moving our bodies isn't going to help us resolve some of the ways that our ego is veiling us from our truth. And so there's a call to go within. And so thank you, emotionally sensitive people, that you are so sensitive, because you are going to be more attuned to when you are out of alignment, which means you can get back into alignment more easily if you're willing to listen and receive your emotions from this empowered state. And the beauty of this is, and why this is so important right now, and I can't express that more with any more significance. This is so important for you, especially if you are emotionally sensitive, because when you learn an empowered version of your negative feelings, you are learning how to attend to that which cannot be controlled. And so much of life is outside of our control. Yet, if you can stay steady in your truth, then you're going to feel more at peace. Now, trust me, I'm not perfect at this. Again, I'm perfectly divine, is that our human experience gives us the practice over and over and over to really get this. And so sometimes I remember and sometimes I forget, but it is this love and appreciation and gratitude that I have for my emotions to get me back to my truth, which will naturally bring me to the emotional states that I desire, that allow me to feel more and more resilient when I'm facing uncertainties, when there are aspects of life that feel out of control, because we will never be able to entirely control our feelings. And if we keep our energy over there, we lose our ability to be with that which cannot be controlled. And there is such beauty, surrender, freedom, expansiveness, being able to be with that which cannot be controlled. Because just feel into that. Like, then you're a part of life rather than fighting life. And so this is my invitation, is that we stop this false notion of control. The more we try to tighten that grip, I got to control my moods, any negative emotional state is bad. It's hurting us. Yes, know when to move your body and have the wisdom to know when you are being called to do deeper inner work, deeper inner curiosity towards what is hindering you from remembering more of your truth. And just one way to look at this is look at all the things that we try to control that does not work for us. We try to control our children, what we eat, money. And if you get too tight of a grip on these things, it all backfires. It feels forced and limiting. And there is a difference between, like, for your children, for example, between forcing and controlling how they respond to situations when they don't know how, when they just haven't known any better, versus teaching them, hey, this is out of alignment. And this is how you can act in a way that will get you back into alignment. And so if a child's behavior is bothersome to you, it's an indicator to you to support them and teach them, rather than the control, the punishment. And it's a huge difference. And so again, if we go back to this controlling our emotional states and we don't get there, then we start punishing ourselves with self-doubt, with a lack of worthiness, with feeling there's something wrong and broken with us when there's not. It's just the approach has been half helpful. So there is a positivity to moving our body, and yet there's a wisdom that we want to integrate with that. Okay. We don't want to stay stuck muscling through our feelings. We want to feel in alignment. And that's when we're going to feel freer and more at peace. And we'll naturally raise our emotional vibrancy. All right. Hope this is making sense. Let's go into another belief. Acting from our emotions is immature, it's weak, it's not helpful. Now, certainly this is true when we are acting from our ego, our fears, and our shame. But this is not the same thing as acting from our emotions. Because again, if you knew the love and empowerment and how our emotions are meant to be our allies, you would never say that. You would never say that this sacred part of you is immature, weak, and not helpful. And so you can see how that belief would hurt us. And so it's not the emotion, it's how that emotion gets understood. And so because we've not been taught much about our emotions and everything has kind of been modeled, our go-to with when negative feelings arise is to go with the trigger, right? And the trigger is our ego, our fears, and our shame. And so that obviously you're not acting in congruence with your truth. But what people do with that belief that our emotions make us immature is then we disregard our feelings, and then it's going to hurt us again, either emotionally, mentally, physically. We're going to feel that because we're creating a disconnect within ourselves, and we're disregarding the feminine. And so this is just another way where so much that I want to share is how the feminine has been disregarded in our spirituality. And it's the same thing with our emotional selves. And so we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? This is a feminine understanding that will change your life because it will make it easier when you make your negative feelings your allies. And this feminine, empowered understanding of your emotion is guiding you to help you see when you are internally separated from your truth. So that's it. Anytime a negative feeling arises, you can get curious about whether it's a thought, it's a belief, it's a story, it's something within you that's creating this separation. And we want to have that indication. We want to know. So the old belief of, my emotions make me immature, weak, not helpful. I don't need these emotions. Let's just get rid of all emotions. It's going to make us emotionally disconnected. We're going to struggle with our mental health or in relationships or with other parts of our life. And again, you could even physically get sick. We don't want any of this. There's a way to hold all. And it's just understanding that when we receive the guidance coming through and connecting with the energy of where we're being called to step into more of our truth, to really own and anchor in more of our truth, then you're going to feel more alive and expansive and all those feelings that we want to feel. Otherwise, the old belief is literally like throwing stones on your own path of life. And I have this visual very strong because I have done this so often in my life. It's like I work against myself when this inner knowing is guiding me differently. And so right now, how a lot of us see our negative feelings is, oh, here's a stone on my path, here's a stone on my path, and I'm going to do all this stuff to work around it, or I keep tripping on it over and over. And there's another way where you can see that stone on your path and say, thank you for being a guidepost. Thank you for showing me how to course correct so I get back on the path that the divine wants me on, so I am the fullest expression of myself. So, and that's where it gets so exciting, because where the mind thinks we ought to go to live from more of our truth or fulfill our purpose or be our most loving selves, actually can be coming from the ego. This is why the ego can be so tricky, because it can manipulate us to try to get unmet needs within us. And so, but our emotions are always there. there are internal guidance systems supporting us to help us see through our ego and the way it wants to trick and manipulate us. So I would feel bad for anyone who is trying to resolve the way that the ego is trying to keep them from their truth without this knowingness of how to work with our emotions, because it just helps us get clearer and clearer. All right. Next belief that we want to get into. You should separate yourself from your emotions. And I kind of got into this in the last one, and this is the worst advice that we can ever hear. Don't listen to it. It just causes more chasms within ourselves. You don't want to separate yourself from your emotions. Your emotions are your aliveness. And you want to know how to allow this force of energy to move through you in more loving and expansive ways. That's it. So separation, again, is going to cause separation from something in our life that matters to us. Because think of anything that matters to you, a loved one, your purpose, your relationship to yourself, whatever it is, there's feelings there. And if you're saying you should separate yourself from your emotions and make your decisions that just from the rational mind, you're missing the gifts, the awe, the magic, the mystery that is trying to work through you to bring magic and blessings into your life. And so it's remembering that your emotions hold so much wisdom. They are so sacred. And we've been taught to fear the darkness. We don't want to see our shame and the ways that we judge ourselves. But guess what? That is exactly how we become more expansive into the light and truth that we are. It's by going into the stuff that we don't want to look at that's going to guide us to more love and light within us, because that darkness is the falseness. That darkness is the veil that is separating you from your truth. It's stopping you from remembering. And so it's hard. It's not easy, but we want to go there. So we never want to separate ourselves from our emotions. We can look at compassion with our ego, our shame and fears. We can look at compassion at the ways that we fall into victimhood when we don't remember the truth of who we are. I still have to have lots of compassion for myself, but it doesn't mean I'm ever separating myself from these aspects of myself that are hard. They are hard. And it's a challenge worth going to, because the love within you is limitless. And I'm still exploring this for myself. And I hope that you receive this invitation that your darkness is not dark at all. It's just more love. And we've just been taught to fear it. So your darkness is there to support you to reveal more light. Think of the yin yang symbol. In the darkness, at the core is light. And so we want to be able to go in the darkness to retrieve and reconnect with more of that light. It's the removal of that which isn't your truth that you're doing in the darkness. And again, it is so sacred. And it is a time where we learn greater self-love, our innate sense of self-worth, because we're going into that which ourselves and the world wants to reject. And we're reclaiming it with greater love. So take my invitation with this podcast is again, this is the practice of the both and, a feminine and masculine approach. The masculine has been about fixing there's some room to move our emotional states if they want to move, right? If when we physically move, they move. And if they don't, it's a calling to go deeper within. And you, my friends, are wise and old souls that have the capacity to go within. You may need some guidance, and that's okay. And that's what I hope this podcast will provide for you. You're going to go within and utilize these emotions as allies from a place of empowerment. So please do not hear this that, hey, Michelle's telling me we got to, receive all our negative emotions and I can just go sharing my emotions sideways, this way and that, spouting out my triggers and fears and expecting people to bend and contort themselves to make me happy. No, that is not empowerment. It's really being able to understand that impulsivity that comes through our emotions is exactly that trigger of our ego that's so afraid, and that we can learn to understand that trigger from compassion to say, what's the deeper meaning to this? Where is the lie I'm buying into about myself that's causing this emotion to arise, that's saying, hey, wake up. You got to pay attention to this because this is a storyline of shame that you are now ready to heal. You're ready to relinquish so that you can align more fully with your truth again. So it's really understanding this is a skill. This is something we get to practice. I continue to practice and honor what it means when I go into the darkness, when I lead others into the darkness, because I know the beauty, love, wisdom, aliveness that will be recovered there. So it's a choice of, rather than choosing to work against and fix and think that our emotions are something that we need to remedy, is that we understand that our negative feelings are there to actually help you feel better. And the more we get this, the more we can come back into alignment with feeling good and expansive from within. So you ultimately want to, I hope, free yourself from needing all these methods to try to uplift your emotional state, and instead learn to work with the guidance so that you are more naturally in those aligned emotional states. Because then what happens is that you don't always feel like, oh my gosh, I got to attend to my feelings again and again and again. Like, when you really get to the root cause of what's going on and what these emotions are trying to tell you, it frees you up from the fears, from the shame, and so that you are more in a natural aligned state, which means when the negative feelings roll in, it's going to be less often. And that allows you the energy and the momentum to continue to want to go within to reveal more of your truth. Now, again, there's going to be times where the negative feelings come pouring in like a torrential storm. And that is our indicator that this is a sacred time. This is a time where you need to hold space for yourself and find support, perhaps, to allow yourself this sacred journey inward. And it's not talked about, but it is a part of the divine feminine journey that we do this, that we go within to this place of surrender and vulnerability to release that which no longer serves us. And the older we get, the more we're going to be called, because it's time. It's time to live from our truth. And you don't have to get older to recognize that. I know some of you are very wise and received this earlier on. Whenever the calling is your time. And we can't judge that based on linear time of someone's chronological age, because our souls have come here for different experiences, exactly to support us so that we can live out our life's work, our life's dharma, and really be that expansive expression of our hearts and of our souls. So I hope this supports you, because I am so passionate about this, and it's really this experience with our emotions and our human selves that, again, allows us to experience more of our divinity. So until next time, know that you are divine perfection and whole right now, exactly as you are. And there's nothing to prove, just to remember.